Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. I'm Jamie, that's Dave, you know Adam, and joining us now, one of our favorite guests. It's Emory Hunt, live from the Caesars Sportsbook at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. Emory, thanks for being with us, and thanks for making us all look bad by how well-dressed you are hanging out in the casino there. But we want to get to your thoughts on tonight's game. Before we get into the player props, I always like to ask, whenever you're with us, just your thoughts on the game in general, because that typically will tend to dictate how you go about making your player props. So how do you see this game unfolding tonight between the Panthers and the Texans? The Panthers are 8-point favorites on the road.
It's hard to watch this game in full confidence because we just saw Tyrod Taylor go down with an injury against Cleveland, and we could potentially be talking about the 2-0 Houston Texans against the undefeated Carolina Panthers, and what a primetime game this would have been. But now with Davis Mills starting, and you know how it is with rookie quarterbacks. Adam made a great point about rookie quarterbacks coming in and not playing particularly well, the highs and lows. Well, this is somebody that, to me, didn't have a good grade coming out of Stanford. So it could be a long day for Houston's offense. They're going to ask a lot of their defense, but this offense of Carolina is on fire right now. And when they're going to get more swings at bat because of inadequate quarterback play, could be a big day fantasy-wise for a lot of Panthers.
All right, Emory, I want to have you back, but if you compliment Adam one more time, that will never, ever happen again. So make sure you keep the compliments reserved for everybody but Adam Azer. Let's get to your first player prop here. You got Christian McCaffrey with his total yards at 136.5. Which way are you going on this one?
I'm going over. This seems like a real low number because I feel like he can get 100 yards on the ground, and then one reception, he's over that total number. So I do like his ability as a dual threat player. That's what makes him such a special talent at the position. So to me, this is a low number. Definitely smash that over on his rushing and receiving total.
All right, we're going to show you our DFS lineups coming up in a little bit, but we all have McCaffrey in our lineups. So, Dave, when you look at McCaffrey and this number, 136.5. He's been over it both of the last two games, but it was just barely last week. He had 137 total yards last week for the Panthers. So is this an easy one to buy into?
I don't think so. I think this is a tough one to buy into because I think the Panthers are going to be able to roll in this game and do whatever they want. They're certainly going to have a chance to have an offensive bonanza on their own. And they might be compelled to say, you know what, we don't need to put a ton of work on Christian McCaffrey. They've already done that through the first 2 weeks of the season, and they remember what happened to him last year, and he left with cramping last week. What did the offense look like then when he wasn't on the field? Oh, it's actually still pretty good, but they'd like to have him all season. So I wonder if there's a chance that McCaffrey gets dialed back a little bit. I hate to go against Emory, and I'm not going to put any money on it, but if I did, it would be on the under, just barely.
All right, so Emory taking the over on the 136.5 total yards. Let's go now to the next prop that you got here, Emory. It's in regard to Sam Darnold, who's playing really well to start the season. 266.5 is his passing yards. You going over or under on this one?
I'm going over, and it's not because I feel like Sam Darnold is Dan Marino. It's because I feel like Sam Darnold is going to get so many opportunities with the football because that Panthers defense is going to stymie that Houston offense. So you're going to give this offense a lot of opportunities on the field. So look for him to go over that number. He's gone over that number the last two games, the first two games of this season. So I feel like that's the trend that's going to continue. And I've been happy for him to have that success, and that's just going to have that confidence for him long term. So definitely going over this passing total. Yep. And also, Dave made a great point, too, about Christian McCaffrey. You're up next, Jamie.
All right. So, Adam, clearly Emory loves you. You love Sam Darnold. You're talking about starting him over Tom Brady. 279 and 305 was his passing numbers in the first two games. So Emory likes the over there. But in terms of Sam Darnold as a fantasy quarterback, is he somebody you consider streaming in this matchup against Texans?
Seems like every quarterback scores 22 or more points these days, right? I think he can get you in the 20 to 22 range and be top 15 or so. There is some interest in streaming Sam Darnold. With all the quarterback injuries around the NFL, maybe you can't do any better than Sam Darnold. I do think he has a 2-touchdown game, so 21 points in week 1, 22 points in week 2. I think he'll be around there again.
Sportsline all in on Sam Darnold, the 7th-ranked quarterback for week number 3. So they like him a lot. Clearly a good DFS option for tonight's game. Again, we'll show you if he's in our lineups on FanDuel and DraftKings coming up in a moment. All right, so Emory, your next one that you're looking at here, and this guy's been frustrating from a fantasy perspective. It's Robby Anderson. So his over-under receptions for tonight is 3.5, and man, I hope he goes over. So what are you telling people to do on that one?
Smash the over, and here's why. Let me make a case for him. They're going to, DJ Moore is his go-to guy. Christian McCaffrey is 1A of him being the go-to guy as well. They haven't really gotten Robby Anderson involved, and that's supposed to be his guy. They, went through the drama all throughout the Jets' tenure. So I think they're gonna use this game with all of those bonus possessions that I keep talking about to get him more involved. So this will be the Robby Anderson game, I'm believing, because of him not being as much of a factor so far this season. Look for him to get right tonight against the Texans.
We've seen Dan Arnold have as much attention from Sam Darnold as Robby Anderson. He had the 1 catch in week 1, 3 catches last week, but 4 catches on the season. Nobody expected that. So, Dave, is this a week to trust Robby Anderson for fantasy?
I hate to go against Emory again, but I'm nervous about Robby Anderson getting 4 or more catches in the game, and I'm worried about using him as anything more than a flex in fantasy. This is a Texans defense that runs a zone primary coverage, and that really means that they're trying to avoid the big play. They want those short plays. That plays right into Darnold's hands of throwing shorter passes to Moore and to Christian McCaffrey. So unless they're force-feeding Robby Anderson on routes inside of 10 yards, I have a hard time believing that he's going to have a big game.
If you are interested in the under, that number is actually juiced in your favor. It's at plus 115, but Emory telling you to take the over on that one. I do think that there is going to be a Robby Anderson game. This feels like this could be a Robby Anderson game, so I would play the over on this. Also, Emory, that's at minus 145, so that's what Emory's telling you to do. Take the over on the 3.5 catches. At some point, he's going to have a breakout game, and this could easily be the case. All right, next wide receiver that we're looking at here, next prop we're looking at here is in regards to DJ Moore and his receiving yards on the game, 66.5. So, Emory, if it's a Robby Anderson game, can DJ Moore still be involved enough to go over this number?
Absolutely, go over. It's the Robby Anderson game for receptions. It's the DJ Moore game for yards. I think that's the go-to guy in the passing game. He's someone that's going to approach 100 yards in this contest. Again, when you give an offense that has this many weapons, so many opportunities with the football, the opportunities are going to be there for everyone to eat. So I do see a healthy game. Everyone's going to be full after this one. A lot of guys, you see the trend here, over. Everyone's going to have their opportunity tonight against the Texans, not because the Texans' defense is bad. It's because they're going to have so many chances with the football because their quarterback play is going to be atrocious.
And he's been over this number each of the first 2 games, 80 yards receiving in week 1, 79 yards receiving in week 2. Adam, we know DJ Moore is probably going to be a must-start guy. Is there a sell-high window here on him because he did score last week? We know there's typically not a lot of touchdowns for DJ Moore. Or you think things are going to change with Darnold under center?
I don't think things will change too much in that regard. If you can trade him for a number 1 guy, if you could trade him for a struggling DK Metcalf or A.J. Brown, that goes without saying. You do that. But I think DJ Moore is going to end up being one of the standouts in the round 4 or 5 wide receivers. He looks so good. He is playing so well. And you may have thought, hey, maybe Robby Anderson with that history with Sam Darnold would be a big factor here. DJ Moore is obviously the favorite target. I can't even believe that player prop, 66.5 yards. I see that. Like, what do they know that I don't? I think it's such an easy over. And I think you could try to sell high, but it's got to be a slam dunk. Otherwise, I'm content to just keep DJ Moore. The worst case scenario is he's somewhere around wide receiver 20 if he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. He'll get so many yards and enough catches to make up for it.
And that's in PPR, not so much in non-PPR if the touchdowns aren't there for him. But yes, he's off to a great start, and hopefully that will continue. A couple more DJ Moore player props coming up in a little bit. All right, Emory, let's go a little rapid fire on these. Brandon Cooks, longest reception, you got it 23.5 yards. You going over or under on that one?
Over. He's a chunk play guy, and will have to be a chunk play offense because they're going to be down. Definitely going over.
All right, so we'll see if he can connect with Davis Mills. It's been an interesting topic of conversation for us here. If you're starting or sitting, Brandon Cooks more of a number 3 fantasy receiver with the quarterback change plus the defense that they're facing. Davis Mills making his first start. You said big arm kid coming out of Stanford, but the interceptions probably going to happen. 0.5 is the interceptions. You taking the over or under on that one?
Man, I'm so much taking this over, man. I'm taking it over twice. I think he's going to get 2 interceptions. Athletic, aggressive defense that loves to turn the ball over, that can fly around the football. Expect him to have 2 interceptions tonight.
And the over is at minus 90. Again, that number is juiced in your favor, but hard to figure that he's going to not throw an interception in his first NFL start. Short week, taking on a really aggressive defense, like you said. They're going to get in his face. Very aggressive defense so far that we've seen from the Panthers. All right, your best player prop for Thursday night. Let's hear. Knock us out. Give us the best prop that we should be playing for this week.
I'm going on the defensive side of football, and I'm looking at Zach Cunningham, tremendous linebacker for the Houston Texans, a tackling machine, but his tackle number in this game is 7.5. I'm going to go under that number. I think this game will be played out on a perimeter, so expect a lot of tackles from your corners, your safeties, your outside backers. Someone like Zach Cunningham will be more than likely planted right there in the middle of the field, trying to take away that intermediate area of the passing game. So I think his tackle number is going to go under. He hadn't crossed that this season. I don't expect that to change in this game. I feel as though this is going to be a perimeter matchup for the Panthers against that secondary of Houston.
All right, so we'll see how things go for Zach Cunningham. We'll see how it go for the Panthers and the Texans. Emory, thank you so much, as always, for being with us here on Fantasy Football Today. Again, Emory at the Caesar Sportsbook in Tropicana, at the Tropicana Casino in Atlantic City. So here's his prop picks for Thursday night. You got McCaffrey with the over on the total yards. Sam Darnold over on his passing yards. Robby Anderson over on his receptions. DJ Moore over. Brandon Cooks over. Davis Mills over. And his best player prop under. Zach Cunningham with his tackle totals of 7.5. Let's give you some props from us here with our suggestions. So, Dave, your prop here to go over involves Davis Mills.
Davis Mills over 30.5 pass attempts. When this Texans team won a game, they were in control against Jacksonville. Tyrod Taylor still threw the ball 33 times. I know they fell behind last week. The Browns controlled the game clock. That's why they didn't have 30 pass attempts. Mills will throw it 31-plus times. Over.
I am going over on DJ Moore's receiving yards, 66.5, 67.5, whatever you got it. I think he gets to 80 yards again. One of the better wide receivers in football, just doesn't get the recognition. I'm telling you, I don't understand why this number would be that low. Maybe this is one where Vegas knows something we don't, but I'm going over on DJ Moore's receiving yards.
I'm going over on his reception totals. I can't believe this is juiced in our favorites, plus 110. It's at 5.5 receptions. He's been over 6 receptions each of the last 2 weeks. So this just feels like an easy one, which means to tell me that Vegas is probably knowing something that we don't know. But still, the fact that it's juiced in our favor feels really, really hard not to take over the 5.5 reception totals. All right, let's go with some props that we're looking at from an under perspective. Adam, what do you got?
Davis Mills passing yards. I'm not so sure I agree with Dave on the pass attempts. I do think they'll be trailing. I could see time of possession being a huge deal in this game, and the Texans just don't have that much possession. But even if he throws 300 times, I don't think he's throwing for more than 200 yards. And what's the number? It's 211 or something like that. So I think he's going to have a terrible game. I put it that way. I just think it's going to be one of those really ugly games. 170 passing yards, 2 interceptions. There is no way I'm going over. So I like under for Davis Mills and his passing yards.
So Caesars gave us an over-under on Sam Darnold rushing yards at 6.5. He had 7 rushing yards last week. I'm taking the under on this. I don't think he's going to need to run. I don't think there's going to be much pressure on Sam Darnold. I think it's an easy game for him to just hand off a lot and throw those dink and dunk passes, maybe a couple of deep shots mixed in. I'm going under on this. And he might even get you 7 rushing yards, and then when the game ends, kneel downs. It's coming back under 7, and that'll be a winner.
I'm always looking for the plus numbers whenever I'm looking at these over-unders, and this one makes me a little nervous because I do think that Sam Darnold will have a good game, but his passing touchdowns at 1.5 is plus 120, and I'm taking the under on that just with the hope that it's a lot of Christian McCaffrey, maybe some Chuba Hubbard, maybe he's out of the game in the third quarter. He ran for a touchdown already once this season, so I don't necessarily think it's a guarantee that he's getting that second touchdown through the air, but I do think that it's worth taking the chance on just given the fact that, again, it's juiced in your favor at plus 120, so that's a number that I'll play. I'll take the under on Sam Darnold with the 1.5 passing touchdowns there.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.